Hi, welcome to the pod. So, what if I told you that one of the most important keys to growth and progress actually was from a very, very, very unlikely source? Dominoes. And though we are many, billions more, and way more complicated, way more sophisticated, and we have wonders like pounded yam, the human race actually functions a lot like dominoes. So, in this episode, I'll be sharing one of my experiences or one of my gems from 2025. And you'd be learning one of the most unlikely but most important lessons of how to make whatever seems like a mountain or a goal seem a lot easier and smaller. Now it's time to stop whetting your appetites. Let's get into the pod. With that said, I'm David Cromwell, and I believe in the virality of thoughts and the power of conversations to shape how we live for the better. This space is where those conversations happen and a home to people who are on a journey to truly live the way we're created to. Welcome to this safe space. Welcome to Cromwell's Harbor. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm going to try something different this time. And I'm not going to start with how I'm doing. I'll tell you guys at the end of the pod. But I just want to just get straight into the heart of really what we're here to talk about. And so, yeah, what's the deal, right? You said we're like dominoes. As how? As how, bro? Well, calm down. You're going to be here for the next 20 minutes, so no rush. Might as well relax. I'm just joking. But the point is, think about dominoes, how they move, how one piece triggers another, and then another, and then another. And it just keeps going. And then you begin to realize that the outcome of the next piece is actually dependent on the previous one. And that cycle keeps on going. Do you get it? Or maybe you don't. So let me try it in another way. In dominoes is a beautiful thing that one thing that happens to one part of the dominoes gets to be replicated across the many others. And so the other pieces don't have to be the first or have to put in the effort of having to be the first in the line. But the very experience that happens to that very first piece gets passed down and replicated across the rest as though they were the first as well. So how are we a lot like dominoes? So it's been that way from the dawn of time. That the way we work is that when someone does something, it oftentimes doesn't take long before others begin to do the same thing too. So think about it. So one of my pastors that I really respect and honor always hints the example that the record of being the first to walk on water did not last very long. As soon as Jesus Christ did it, Peter wanted to do it too. We are very communal in that sense that the progress of feet of one person, like a domino, tends to ripple down till it spreads and it becomes a communal reality that everyone now shares. So some of you might be getting it now. But how does this help? Right. I said that this episode was going to be one that would help making mountains that seem big a lot smaller and help growth feel a lot easier. But before I do so, I want to get to some things. So interesting, like I shared before or shared earlier in the previous episode, this episode is an outflow of what previously was meant to be one episode. So um like I said, there's a lot of depth in the well that is Cromwell. Hey. I was a very sad attempt to have my own self. All right, so so as I began to speak, I realized that man, I have a lot of things to share and the gift of utterance. And I'm also trying to kind of pace so that I don't overload you guys in terms of like how I speak. So I've broken them down into a couple of episodes. So I think the next two episodes will actually be still an outflow from the one was meant to be one episode. So it's a learning for me. Like, I'm on this journey. So I'm also growing into learning how to create these experiences for you guys, right? But that's not a problem really, because my approach with this episode is explaining it in a very personal way that I very sure you will love. and sharing how the domino effect has played out in my own life and some of the examples that I have seen. I will be giving you the opportunity to use a very personal lens today. So, first is from my own experience, and then sharing how you can use it too. It's going to be beautiful, actually. So, for context, when I say the domino effect, what I mean is this: when one moves, so can we. When one moves, so can we. So, a lot of it is what you'd see that I use all throughout the episode. I might not use exactly that phrase, the domino effect, but what I'm trying to say really is that if one person does something, it many times open up this possibility or this door somehow that just replicates throughout, and then it just becomes something that we all can do. All right. But before we dive in, let's not forget our pact. And this is our pact. I want you to take note of every time you have an experience where you laugh, you smile, or maybe you've had so many already, and you have something insightful or you just feel related to, or just feel. I've heard somebody say that this podcast feels like a hug. So whenever you have that experience, I want you to note them down, and I want you to share as with the number of people equivalent to the number of times you've had this experience, that experience. All right. So can we do that? Okay. So with that said, let's get into it, or let's get back into it. How can we use this effect to our benefit? Here's my experience with it. How the domino effect actually works is that many times what seems like an amazing feat for you, or might seem like something that's impossible to you, is actually someone's normal. Like it's actually possible for someone, right? And the difference many times is the thing that, or the difference many times between the results that they see and you are the things that they do, and how they think compared to you, right? But just the mere fact that I get the opportunity to just say that what seems like a big mountain to me is actually possible to someone out there, someone that has ever existed. That's very encouraging. That is not out of reach to humanity as a whole, right? It's possible to someone, it's just not possible to the version of me that is here right now, right? So it then now starts to create like a line of sight, like I can see the road to the destination. So that makes it a bit simple, but not easy. Like it's gonna be hard getting there, but it's simple because I know the way there. Do you get, like it's not veiled? Like I know if I can do things like the way this person does it, like I will actually see the results that they're seeing. I would say that the idea of saying something is possible to someone is actually a very powerful thing. So interestingly, there are a lot of records that people had prior believed that were impossible to humans as a whole. Um, and then after a while, one person breaks the record, and then before you know it, everybody starts breaking the record every 2 to 3 business days. I think, was it the 4 minute mile that used to be a record? Um, Prior to that, like I think people had said it was physiologically impossible for a human to run that. I think a man named Bannister did it, and since then, high school children have been running that mile under 4 minutes. There are other records. I could even go through them. So prior in the 1980s, it actually felt impossible to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube under 5 seconds. Now, today, there are children who do that in 3 seconds. I watched a video of this happen like in the week, and I genuinely saw a kid that I think needs to watch more than 10 and spend more time watching Cartoon Network. Like, this guy it was crazy. Like, It was quite impressive, I won't lie. Prior, it was also thought that we could not lift, like humans, no human could lift over 1,000 pounds. And in 2016, Eddie Hall lifted that. Later on, Haftor Bo Johnson, hi, broke the record, and others have subsequently done the same as well. Let's think about holding breath under water for 10 minutes. 45 minutes was thought to be the limit. Free divers like Alex Segura have done it for 24 minutes. Wow. Wow. That's actually pretty impressive. Or being able to memorize pi to over 70,000 digits. Prior, it was thought that we could not be able to manage that number of, like, being able to, the human memory could not keep that amount of numbers. Raj, Rajver Meena of India in 2015 was able to memorize 70,000 digits. Wow. Or let's talk about SpaceX and the fact that space always used to look like the domain of just countries alone. But then SpaceX was able to break that in 2008, and it has become such a natural thing that Amazon and other companies want to use space as a tourism center. Just think about it that there was once a time when we celebrated being able to land on the moon, and now we want to start using the moon and other places in space for tourism. Or the fact that now this is one that actually just confounded me. Like, apparently, someone actually climbed a wall, a 3,000 feet wall, with no ropes. Apparently, Alex Honnold in 2017. It's still a rare record, actually, but other people have done quite similar things since he did it. And it's just like, man, all throughout history, all throughout humanity, is this effect or this what I call it this trait that when someone does something, it just triggers the possibility in other people as well. I would say like expand. You could even expand the scope of even what you even consider to be realistic self. Like you can actually define. Sometimes maybe you are thinking about other people from the standpoint of people in your maybe your city or people in your country or people in your culture. But I'm thinking, what if you expanded your scope to even from inception of life till now? What if you started to think that if Einstein could do something, I could do it? I know there's a way which we revere certain characters in culture and society, but I think there's a kind of honor that is a bit unhealthy and might not allow you express your own greatness, right? But if Paul had this kind of relationship with God, then that means a human being can. Do you get like, and that kind of opens up that possibility. Even Jesus, a lot of things that we try to isolate to Jesus, he tried to bring us into it. Like the things that I do, you would do as well. Do you get like he wasn't that kind of I did things you can never do it kind of thing. He was more of I did this so he lets you know you can do it too. That kind of thing. Right. But something about that just makes it just that idea that someone has done what I want to do, and that encourages me. So a good example is I was gonna say it's at the end of this, but I'll just bring it here. So I listen to a lot of quotes from men of God that were in like 17th century, 18th century. We're talking John G. Lake, uh, not only 17th century, but just people that I respect, like maybe Benson Dawsa. I listen to not necessarily sermons, but maybe many times they are quotes. And many times I just like to just hear them. Why? Because a lot of things that they have done sound like Bigfoot stories in today's culture. It's like I listen to them because they just open up the possibility that someone has walked on this planet and existed very similar to the things that Christ said we would do and Paul said we would do, right? And so that just in a sense just makes me know that it's possible. So I just read it, listen to them, listen to the quotes being read by AI. Because it just opens up that heart that it's possible. So think about it, right? It doesn't even have to be as grand as what I just mentioned. You want to grow your skill in financial modeling, but there's someone that you know that eats models for breakfast. Right. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to start working out. Some people struggle with working out. Some people might fall sick if they don't go to the gym or if they don't work out. So the question then becomes like, what is it that makes this person this person? How do they see the world? How do they think? Funny thing that I heard one time, it's not a funny thing. I don't know why I just said funny. A very profound thing that I heard one time was that a lot of people that we call brave don't know they are brave. Weird, right? A lot of people that we call brave don't know they are brave. And if they saw themselves the way you see them, they probably will not do brave things. If they had the world view the way people that call them brave have, they probably will not. Like a lot of people that actually do brave things don't know because they just see things in a different way. They just see taking that step as what else should I be doing with my time except for this thing? Maybe they're even more afraid of conformity over a in quotes big feat, right? And that's the reason why they do the things that they do. Because there's that sense of like there's a greater fear, and it's not the feat, it's the other things that if this thing does not happen, I'm afraid of reality of what's to look like if it does not happen. And so they just, or many times they're just doing what they want, they just know to do, right? And so sometimes if you know that the things that you aim for are possible to someone, find someone that can be that example and just observe them. Sometimes it's just nice to just see them do the things that you like. Like funny thing that happened to me that was quite eye opening. So I have a boss who is like 50 plus and he runs 60 to like 90-kilometer runs at very crazy rates. I never knew how long a kilometer was until I took to the road. So I remember he had invited me and I was thinking to myself, like, man, look at this old man, like, wow, gonna kill this guy on this track. We're gonna need an ambulance for him. Like I'll finish and then he'll just be needing water and I'll be like pouring water for him and maybe like blowing breeze, like I'll be fanning him like, oh sir, please don't go. So that's what I thought though. I genuinely thought. Oh man. I was dumbfounded. I could not even be shocked because I almost passed out. So the funny thing was that I went with another colleague who's probably in his mid 40s. He ran the entire 10 kilometer. My goodness, I ran like maybe 1 point. Yeah, I don't even say the full thing before you. 2 points. That's even a more respectful figure, right? I did the entire. I did 5 kilometers, right? Um, but then like let's just say I didn't do 10, and I was not as energetic as they were after. And it opened up my eyes that someone can be in his mid 50s and be as fit, and even you could even argue he was like times 10 feet than I was in this act of running. It shocked me, like it just boggled my mind that someone could do that. And in a sense, that kind of opened up my heart to possibilities that, and not just even greatness in running, but just in general, that, some of the limits that we set on ourselves, like, why? I remember I was watching a documentary one time of Bill Gates. And I was seeing him like this guy is knowledgeable in business. This guy is knowledgeable in technology and coding, non finance and stuff. And then he's trying to research on how to create water from poop. And this guy is actually to the point of getting researchers researching on the industry to the ability that he can talk with them on that field. The chief rocket scientist for SpaceX was Elon Musk. If you see the wide range of industries that this guy has played and these people playing, it's a bit weird. Like, how can people actually know this much about so many things? the question then becomes that what do you do when you see people like that? Do you see them and they, okay, you know what, they are a special breed? Or do you see them like what's happened to me when I saw that is like, you know what, maybe some of the limitations that we set on ourselves are actually not from God. Like it's possible that you actually could know a lot more than what people define. So just looking at them and funny thing is that I didn't even meet them in person. I just saw the example. And that just opened up my heart to possibilities. Like my boss who is running crazy kilometers at that age, redefine what fitness could be at that age, right? So, you know, see someone who embodies what you want to be or what you want to do. All right. So thank you for staying to this end of the podcast. So I said I'll do this at the end. And so how am I doing? To be very honest, I had a very, very interesting, probably tough week. Yeah, increased responsibility at work. And I don't know, I think it was probably predominantly just the burden from there that kind of spilled over into other areas of my life. And, you know, when you work in knowledge economy, would I say in the very heart of the knowledge economy, you can think to the point where your mind actually gets worn out from thinking. And it really, really drew a lot from me. I'll be very honest. Um, but in a very strange way, I got to benefit from my own self. So I actually needed to listen to the podcast that I released last week. The episode, I re-listened to it a lot, and it reminded me just some of the things I needed to hear to take it easier on myself, to pride progression over perfection. And it's just a recommendation to listen to it again. It's not a one-time thing. Then I also needed to worship a lot, just really draw from the strength that God gives in worship. And another thing that God kind of taught me that I will share later, it's been a super weapon. I'll share it later in the future. But thanks for asking. Because if you listen to this point, then you wanted to hear. So thank you for listening. And I would like to know how you're doing as well too. If you can share via email, Instagram, I'd like to hear. Okay, so that's a wrap. And I want you to take a couple of key things from this episode, and that is to use the domino effect to your advantage. So, do you have something that is a big thing ahead of you, or maybe something you want to grow in, or something that, you know, everyone always aims for something that is a better version of themselves, or maybe want to be a bit more grateful, to slow down a bit. It doesn't even have to be moving forward, it could even be slowing down, right? Um, you don't need to put that pressure on yourself to start it. Just surround yourself with examples of people that are already living it, even though they might be even dead. People that embody who you want to be, what you want to do, the people that are the you that you want to be, or maybe have a part of that. See it regularly, be around it, and allow that domino effect to kick in. Now, that's a promise. It actually will bless you, and it's been blessing me. So, don't forget our pact. So, how many times did you have those experiences? Did you laugh? Did you smile? Did you find something insightful, something intelligent, something relatable, something that felt like a warm hug? So share with someone. It might be, I'll give you a pass. No, I'll give you a pass. If you had it 10 times, you share with 10 people. But let's do this together. Let's actually shape how people live for the better. And also don't forget to follow, all right? So I love you and see you next time at the harbor. Bye. So I felt like, you know what, let me actually add bloopers. So, hi, I'm David Cromwell, and that was not how I was meant to start. Oh my god. All right, the way we're created to. Welcome to the safe space. Welcome to Cromwell's Harbor. Hit my music. Also, if you felt like this episode was about eating, about pizza, just gonna eat. All right. Bye.